It always seems impossible until it is done. That quote from Nelson Mandela feels really poignant because we're facing existential challenges and it can feel really overwhelming. Like that's okay and it's normal. Our best days could be ahead of us. And as educators, we're in a privileged position to affect change. We have a huge amount of power. The learning that we facilitate in our classroom, it doesn't stay in our classroom, it leaches out into the community. And whether we like it or not, we're the topic of the conversation at the breakfast or the dinner table. So let's use that because what we do and what we say, it actually matters. Now, leadership can come from any area of your school. You don't have to be a school leader. You don't have to be a teacher. You don't have to have a position of responsibility. I'm a classroom teacher and I'm leading from the classroom. I don't have a position of responsibility, but I do have a great weight of responsibility on my shoulders because I genuinely understand my role as an educator and how I can support my students and their families to navigate the challenges that we face and pave the way to a better future for all of us. For me, this is what education is actually for. Now, this is a really exciting space in which to lead, but it demands you to be innovative and resilient. And I want my work to be meaningful. I want it to be impactful. I want to ensure that I'm impacting students' knowledge, their attitudes, and their practices or their behaviors. So, for example, if I'm teaching my students about biodiversity, I want them to be inspired. I want them to be inspired to go home and actually transform their own gardens and community spaces into stores of carbon, stores of food, wildlife havens, and refuges for their own mental health. And hopefully, and this is where kind of social change comes from, is that when that happens, they'll inspire their neighbors and other family members to do the same. Look, it's not easy. You have to be resilient. And although you may start this work on your own, you can't do it by yourself. You have to win hearts and minds and bring people with you. And that's the biggest challenge I think that we all face. How do you win hearts and minds and how do you bring people to the movement? This is something I'm constantly working on and navigating. Now, many of us are aware of the climate and biodiversity crisis, but how many of us actually have a deep knowledge and understanding of what the future actually looks like? How many of us understand the scale and magnitude of what we face? How many of us are actually connecting the dots between these crises, food security, war, cost of living, the housing crisis, inequality, and a deterioration of our own mental health and well-being? As a leader, when you've actually internalized this knowledge, it shapes who you are and what you do and how you see the world. You look at the world through a different lens, and what some people see as sacrifices, you see as really exciting opportunities to pave the way to a more certain, lush, verdant future that's full of opportunities. So, in order to kind of internalize this knowledge, which I think actually helps you to develop a resilience, you have to keep working on yourself. As a leader, you have to keep learning. Now, although this is an exciting and nourishing space in which to think and which to work, it can be quite lonely. So, I would remember that you're not on your own. You are part of a movement. And if you need practical or emotional support, reach out and get it. That's what the Irish School Sustainability Network is here for. That's what we're all about.